Chapter 13 is dealing with, did I lose somebody? I just heard a beep. Chapter 13 is we good? Okay.
Yes.
Cascading style sheets, section 13.1. As soon as you started doing these code listings, and again, have you discovered a new use for code listings? Well, some of you are like, yeah, we type them in. Some of you don't even bother to get them to run. You just type them in and you don't even know what pieces are missing. But another thing that should start coming out of this, Galen says programming bases. Yeah, but what about cut and pasting code? Like some of these code listings, you type them in, you get the code in, and the code's then correct. And now you're actually working with good code that you can copy and paste into a program instead of code that you have to create from scratch. So that's like another benefit, in my opinion, of using the code listings for actually writing your programs. 13.1, a couple of you have already used these style sheets because in the last program you wanted to make them look really nice. I know Leah did, and I know two other people did. I just can't remember off the top of my head. So you're already familiar with what's going on in chapter 13. Section 13.1, 13.2, and 13.3 are ones that I was going to try to get through today. We lost about 10 minutes in the discussion, but let's see what we can get through. So in 13.1, we start with these style sheets. And basically what we're doing is we're making a little text file that's going to say, hey, this is how I'd like to do the layout for my buttons. This is how I'd like to do a layout for the whole program. This is like how I would like to do the layout for a particular text box, not all of them. So we're going to take a look at those three thought processes as we go through 13.1. But we have these style sheets, and when we create them, we start out with the selector. So we have this generic form, the selector, and then inside the selector, we have a property and then a value that we want to give it. And when we started looking at a bunch of the properties, you got the idea quickly of we could make the font size change. We could make the font weight change, okay? So we pick the category of what we want to change, and then we give it different values of what we'd like to set it at. In code listing 13.1, that was the first one you did. It was demo1.css. So you did .label. So for all of your labels, you'd like the text alignment to be center, cursive, 14-point, italic, bold with a dotted border. So when I get ready and run this program, I have this style sheet set up for labels, and you typed in 13.2, and when you got to line 29, you did add demo1.css. We included our style sheets. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Questions on, I think style sheets were pretty simple, and now that you see them, it's like, this is kind of nice. I'm glad we have something like this. In 13.2, excuse me, 13.3 and 13.4, you had to type those in. We not only had a style sheet for a label that we'd like to create, but we had a style sheet for buttons if we wanted to include them for buttons. And when you typed in 13.4, hopefully you saw where we added CSS demo 2 to the style sheet so that all of our labels were a certain way and all of our buttons were a certain way as well. Code listing 13.5 and 13.6, I'm on page 830. When I take a look at those, I create demo3.css, and I now say a root. And my root, my font family throughout the program, I want it to be serif, to have the font style serif. You see, I also am specific about my labels, what I want to do. But unfortunately, if you would have had to type this in, it wouldn't work, because if you look at line 31 of code listing 13.6, you're going to see it says add demo 2, and we actually created demo 3. Okay, so now we didn't just do particular things like labels or buttons, but we did a route, which we did it for the entire program. When you got into, I'm looking at code listing 13.9, which is one that you didn't have to uh, type up, but you start to see that we can work with colors. And you can either use the hex representation of color, or you can use the actual, there's color names that are attached to some of those combinations. And when you go and you look at the colored names, you see a list of 24 names that represent colors. So we don't have to be typing in different things. But some of the values that we can do include the background color and the text fill and so on. So we have the colors available to us. Code listing 1312 and 1313, you did have to type in. And you notice this time, this is the third thing. Instead of a generic for buttons or labels or a general for the whole program, you now see that I can specify and do custom ones. Like I can have one that sets buttons to black. I can have one that sets buttons to white, and so on. Yes, I know there's someone making noise in my background. Sorry, I can't mute that out. Okay, any questions on what's going on in 13.1?
So I have a question. I understand what's going on with these CSS sheets.
Yes.
Is anybody else running into an issue where it's not matching up with what it's supposed to look like? Because like with demo 1, it's not italicizing text for me. And
Yeah,
I
I
went,
had problems with the italicized
you did as
text.
well?
Yeah,
And I went through, because I went through then into, I think maybe demo 3 or 4 or something, where it does the root, where it modifies root. And I put the italicized text in there, and it did successfully italicize all of the text. But it wouldn't do it when it was within label, which seems really weird. And there's
Yeah.
maybe one or two other font adjustments that aren't changing the way they're supposed to. So I don't know, is that a JGrasp thing? Is
Well,
that
that's,
a
I was thinking it might be something to do with the JDKs and what's supported and not supported anymore.
okay,
That would be my first guess, but I'm not sure.
okay.
Anybody else have comments about it?
Maybe I'm the only one.
Everybody who's running JDK 8, is that right?
No. I'm updated to 14, whatever the latest one is.
Up to anybody else?
I think I'm on 8.
That was you,
I'm on
Jake.
14.
So we have 8s and 14s. Yeah, I think I may go in and update mine to 14 just to eliminate some bugs. But 14's the way to go.
Yeah, I don't know. I just downloaded whatever was latest. Pretty sure it's 14.
Okay. Everybody else is pretty quiet. All right. 13.2. Radio buttons. All right. So we're really working on making our programs look pretty and putting different things in. One of the things about a radio button is, as you went through the section, hopefully you saw, to do a radio button, I have to create a group. Because when we deal with radio buttons, they're mutually exclusive. So if I have 3 radio buttons, only one of them can be true. We'll say true at one time because of these guys being mutually exclusive. So what I have to do is create a group and insert them in the group. Well, the question might be, well, why do I need to put them in a group? Well, what happens if you wanted to have a display that had multiple areas that wanted to use radio buttons? We need to keep each group unique so that I could highlight one, make it true, and then go to another group and make one true without them all having to be related. So for each of these, we need to include them into a radio group. Now, how do we check if the one we want is highlighted? Well, you should have seen an if statement of if radio 1 dot is selected, which is going to work for us. So in order to do radio buttons, one thing we need to do is create 3 new radio buttons, create the toggle group, and then set those radio buttons in the toggle group. You did not have to type in code listing 1314, and I was going to give it to you. If anybody wants it, I can go find it and post it on D2L. But this program, and it started to get a little long, that's why I didn't put this one in, but it's an example of how you would use a button group. In this case, convert to miles, convert to feet, convert to inches. All of a sudden, you're starting to see where, yeah, these guys can come into play if I'm really trying to dress up my user input and user output for a program. So if you go through there, you can quickly find out, you know, as always, we have to register it. We have to create that, we have to implement the event handler. And as we go through this chapter, you're going to see we're going to implement quite a few different things that are going to add a lot of code to our programs, basically. Code listing 1315. Did you type that one in with the 2 pictures? I'm looking in my notes and I don't see. You did. So you got that one in, and you did get an example of a radio button. Questions on radio buttons. All right, and then 13.3 is similar to radio buttons, but it's the ever popular check boxes. And it's going to kind of work the same, except I don't need to make a group. I can have these guys independent of each other, and in doing so, any of them could be checked and any of them could not be checked. And the example that's used in the book is a pizza. And, you know, I'm sitting here thinking I'm due for stromboli. I could have stromboli tonight. But the pizza, you can check for pepperoni. You can check for extra cheese. You can check for anchovies. So the example that you typed in 13.6 is kind of nice, because I'm now going to let you build on what's kind of there, and I'm going to have you write your own program that is going to include style sheet, radio button, and checkbox. So here's what I'm going to have you do, okay? And I wish I could get it closer, but what I want is a program. And again, you can build on what's already there and what's not there. But I want you to create something, and this is for my favorite pizza place across the street. Welcome to Sal's Pizza. Something similar to this. Radio buttons. They're either going to pick a small, a medium, or a large. And I put in prices of $5, $8, and $10. Yeah, Galen likes it as well. I know he's a local near me. Okay, so I pick one of these 3 pizzas. Now, there's my radio buttons. Over here, I have the choices of, and you can put in anything you want. I don't care. I'm just giving you an example. Extra cheese, triple X cheese, pepperoni, pineapple. You can do whatever you want. Okay. I see a button to click so that you can order and it'll send it in. Now I have another button that if I wanted to click and see what the current price was, I could. So if I clicked a small with extra cheese, it would be $5.50. I could click price to see what my current price is. But once I'm done, I now want to click order, and I want to have a display that shows up what your order is. Thank you for ordering from Sal's, blah, 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 like a receipt. So the order gives a receipt, the price gives the current price. Now, you notice you can't see it, but I have best of show. And what I'm going to do is add points to the final. So I'm going to give you a place to upload this by tonight. Actually, why don't we do this? Why don't we, if you want to participate, you can upload yours to the discussion board. And then after we're done, we'll vote on them, and we'll go 15, 10, and 5. 15, 10, and 5. Points that I'll add on final. All right. So if you want to go at this and you know, I'm thinking who's going to win, you'll do better if it's a competition than not. You want 15 extra points on the final? Here we go. Welcome to Sal's Pizza. One of the things, though, it has to work. Make sure this isn't just beautiful, but it actually doesn't work behind. You don't handle or, you don't create the handler to take care of it, the event handler. Questions on what I want you to do? Make a pretty pizza screen for me. Everybody give me a thumbs up so you know what's going on.
I can never find that button, but I understand.
Oh, okay. There, I got some thumbs ups. Okay. All right. So you still have, a half an hour of class till 11 o'clock to be working on this. And if you want to play around with it and work on it on your free time, but if you can do this, then you're up to speed with what we're doing and you know what's going on in the first 3 sections of chapter 13. Okay.
All right.
Off you go.
I have a question about my code listing.
Yeah.
I typed them in, and my grade is 60%.
Okay. Which code listing are you talking about?
Chapter 13
Chapter 13.
to today.
Yep. Okay. Let me go take a look. You cannot minimize Zoom. I need to stop recording.